Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome, how are you all? This is Azraildaim, and here we are on Baldur's Gate 3. Now a few things in today's video we will be covering will be the Dragon's Lair in Maul's hideout, Alfira, a continuation of saving all the tieflings you can find throughout the playthrough. So you'll have to save all of them to include that trophy. We'll be covering Kagha and the Shadow Druids, the prisoner Saza, and we'll be covering the step 1 and 2 of the getting the Helldusk armor from Raphael early on. We'll also cover the Owlbear Cave, Scratch, the Harpies, the Druid Sanctuary, and a few other tips and tricks and other lore of the world. And we'll be compressing about 3 hours of gameplay into about 20 minutes. So without further ado, let's jump right on into it. Now first up as the Leave No One Behind trophy, which is saving every tiefling refugee you can throughout the game in a single playthrough. As part of this, we need to convince Roland to go with the refugees, which means that for now we need to persuade him and his party to stay at the Grove. There's only a DC of 10, which if you have Bardic Inspiration or another form of guidance in your party, is quite an easy check to make. As we walk a bit further on down, we'll find a hay pile, which is lootable, as well as a strange ox. Now the strange ox does have an entire storyline intertwined to it, so if you have to speak with animals, you are able to speak with him, and you'll see him multiple times throughout your playthrough if you are actively seeking him out. He is an ally. Now I've just gone over and talked with Will and sent him back to my camp, and right on over here next to him beside will be Gwex. Now Gwex is an inspirational event for Lae'zel, in which you get to teach him how to use his sword, but you get a few rolls you get to do that with. You get some inspirational points for Lae'zel, and some extra character EXP. Continuing on with Lae'zel's storyline, we do need to bring her to Zoru, which your map will point you there. You can interact with that dialogue on with him. In the same kind of area, there is some crates around the place. You can go ahead and loot them. There is a book sitting up on one of these crates. You can go and pick that up. We still need that trophy for obtaining 100 books and reading them all, so we'll be snagging any books we do find along the way. In the kind of central area of the town, we will find a character named Damon. Now Damon is the blacksmith. He does carry quite a few items, however nothing too noteworthy that you need to pick up. We will be obtaining quite a few items, which we'll be equipping to our characters later on. Most of these are starting items that will give you a slight boost, however it's nothing too noticeable. On the back side of Damon's house, however, there is going to be a skeleton on the back wall that you can pick up and loot. As well as on one of the bins next to him, there's going to be a breastplate +1 with a 15 AC, which takes 1 less piercing damage. Now to get this breastplate, you can either pull it off to the side and steal it and get away, or you can simply move it and he will actually walk over and go pick it up. Otherwise, it is no longer for sale unless you do either of these two things. In the case he picks it up, it will now be available in his selection to buy. In the beginning, we are quite broke. If you want to obtain this breastplate, you can steal it. However, just know you'll need to sneak back off to your camp, otherwise you'll be thrown in jail. Interacting with Roland, we will find out that in Lorkhan, there's a greatest wizard in Baldur's Gate. Now this is some lore of the world that you will find him later on towards Act 3. On over to Okta. If you are playing a Dark Urge and you stop thinking about your delicious dwarf, that we may or may not obtain in Act 1, you can get an inspirational event for your Dark Urge, which is 1 more point. And right beside her, we will find Auntie Ethel. Now Auntie Ethel, we'll make sure we don't do anything to disturb her at the moment. We'll be using her to obtain potions of giant strength. Now one strategy in Baldur's Gate is to take no points in your strength, and by drinking a potions of giant strength every time you long rest, you can instantly put your strength to +21. Now this is great if you want to allocate all your points into another stat, as well as towards Act 3 and 2. You can also obtain the Cloud Giant Strength, which boosts your strength up to 27. So I've just made sure that I picked up a few Hill Giant Strength potions. Make sure you have plenty of healing potions, and I also like to pick up 1 invisibility potion, just in case things go south. You can always have a way of getting out of places. By interacting with this rat that you'll find scurrying along the place, he will guide you towards the abandoned shack. Now we'll be coming back to this shack here in a moment. However, right now, we're going to continue through the hollow and we're going to loot off this crate here to our right on the wagon. Now there is a metallic pair of gloves that gives you a nice insert. You can equip on one of your characters right away, as well as a chest you can lockpick. Heading down through the grove past the sacred idol, to the beach side. If we go down the beach side, there is going to be a weirdly shaped rock that we can oddly move out of the way. Now, underneath the rock, we will find an amulet of Sylvanas. Make sure we pick up this amulet. We will be needing it right away. We can also pick up a few fish right here. One of these fishes we'll be using as well. If you jump to the adjacent side of the water, along the edge of the water, there's going to be a hidden chest with a few items inside. Now, if we head to the lift with the bear that is sleeping on it, we can actually throw one of the fishes we just picked up. By throwing it to him, it will move the bear out of the way, and we can use that elevator to head back up. It will also give you 15 experience. Once we are at the top, we can use one of our characters to jump down on top of this beam. On top of this beam, there is a gilded chest we can loot. It does take some practice with some lockpicks to undo. If you cannot undo it with lockpicks for whatever reason, you are able to smash it open. Now, to smash it open, there is one item called a Doom Breaker, or you can use any other maul or type hammer, which is blunt damage, to break open chests. Now, this stands true with almost any chest in the game, other than ones that are almost unbreakable. Now, we'll head inside the Emerald Grove itself, and we'll go talk to Kagha. Now, this is part of the Saving the Tieflings quest. For that achievement, you will need to save Arabella from Kagha right now. If she does die, you'll be blocked out of that achievement right away. Once she is saved, though, if you do have Gale in your party, part of the Gale inspirational event, if you talk with all of the Wellspring plaques, and you do get successful checks on all three, you'll get an inspirational point for Gale, as well as some extra character EXP. Now, we just gotten a quest for part of the investigation on Kagha. Now, to finish this quest, first we're going to head into the servants' quarters. On one of the center desks, there's going to be something called the Rite of Thorns. Now, this will be the first piece to our quest. Make sure you read it. It is considered stealing if you take it, so you just leave it on the desk. Head to the back bookshelf, and they will find a Kagha's chest. You can lockpick this chest, and inside you will also find some more incriminating notes. Making our way through the Druid's chambers, we will find Nettie. Now, Nettie, which is the person we came to set out to find for a healer for our parasite. Now, during the dialogue, if you do say certain things, it can make her potentially hostile. If you do need to kill her, I don't believe it's a huge deal. As she is not a tiefling, we will not be locked out of any achievements. However, on top of one of her stools, we will find a mind parasite. Now, make sure we pick up this mind parasite. After we grab that mind parasite, we are free to leave and exit the Emerald Grove. And as we head out this opening right here, do be careful, leave half your party behind. The reason being, it is possible for Raphael to spawn in this area. If he does spawn in this area and you're not able to hit him properly, you can actually get locked out of achieving the Helldusk armor early on. So do be careful going through here. I've not always seen him spawn in here, but he does happen to do it quite a few times. If we take a right, we will find Alfira. Now, on the backside of Alfira, next to the pillar, there is another gilded chest in which we can loot. Now, speaking with Alfira, there's an entire thing where we get to help her finish her song. Now, this song is beautiful and quite rewarding, however, it is copywritten, so I cannot show any of it. However, if you are playing a Dark Urge and you would like to save Alfira for the entirety of your playthrough, so you do not have to kill her off, if you want to do this, go ahead and knock her out with unconscious attacks right now. Just go ahead and enable non-lethal attacks, and you can hit her with either a melee weapon or your bare hands. And now once you do this, it is very important not to take any long rests, up to the point that a secondary character will spawn in and take her place, being a Dragonborn. Now you can kill this Dragonborn with almost no penalties, and later on you'll be able to recruit Alfira. If you just turn her away while she's in your camp, you'll be able to carry her on into Act 2. Continuing down the pathways onto the shore side, jumping across these pillars, there's going to be a hidden chest on a dirt mound. We can go ahead and pick that up for some loot. Now, if you have not gotten it already, there is an achievement for obtaining 5 dirt mounds. There's various of them spread out throughout the entire world, so you're pretty much sure to get it. Now, this is very important right here. Heading down to the water side, we'll find a child named Murkon. Now, Murkon, if you do allow Murkon to die because he is a tiefling, you'll be locked out of saving all the tieflings in your playthrough. So one important spell that'll help us keep him alive is going to be Sanctuary. Before anything happens, you're going to cast Sanctuary on Murkon, and that means for 10 rounds, none of the harpies that spawn in will be able to hurt him. Now, the harpies can be either one of the hardest or the easiest fights in your playthrough. If they do manage to sing a song and lull your entire party, it is quite easy to die. I do suggest taking most of your party and sneaking them along the cliffside and getting some cheeky crossbow shots off. Which, if you do not know, if you are carrying around a candle, you can put that candle down in the world, you can light it on fire, and dip your crossbows into that candle. This will give you an extra 1d4 fire damage, I believe, on all your crossbows. Once we've killed all the harpies, we can go and head up and loot their nest. As well as running on the backside, there's some more loot on around the back there. Now, it has only happened to be one time, but it is possible to actually jump through the rock somehow and end up glitched underneath the map. If this does happen to you, what you can do is go ahead and open up your map and teleport to one of these shrines that you've unlocked earlier. And now that we've wrapped up another part of saving the tieflings as a whole, we'll go ahead and talk to Zevlor, interact with him now that we've successfully talked with Kaka as well and gone through her dialogue, which will tell them that they basically need to evacuate the grove, and we are able to help them out. While we are talking with Zevlor, if you do head up the ladder, there's going to be a bunch of wine and wine barrels spread out throughout the place. Now do make sure that you pick up all of these. It is considered stealing, so make sure you are sneaking. There is an achievement for sleeping in camp and full resting with an entire 80 camp supplies of alcohol. Head back up the ladder to the surface, in which we can find Lacrissa standing on her campsite to the left. Now we can make a bet with her and see her later on. However, if we head up to the right of the cragged rocks, we can find another hidden chest. It is a heavy chest. There should be about 100 gold worth of loot inside of there that is unique to you and your playthrough. Now, in the same area that we are in right now, if for whatever reason you do come back and the Emerald Grove is completely shut off with vines and you do need to get inside the Emerald Grove, by coming up to this place, we are able to jump through here, and with either a Shadow Step spell or a Walker spell, which we are able to obtain from the Goblin hideouts, you're able to actually get through those vines and get back into the Emerald Grove. Back inside the Emerald Grove, we'll just talk with Arabella's parents, in which they'll give you an amulet. Now, this amulet is Chimera's locket. It gives you dancing lights, which if you do not have dark vision, it can come in handy later on while we're in the underground area. While we're in the same kind of area, we can talk with Donnie and ask him about the Dragon's Lair, which Murkon told us to ask Donnie about when we saved him from the Harpies. Now, opening up in the Dragon's Lair, we'll find Maul's hideout, in which all the children of the tieflings have basically set up their own hideout and a little encampment. Now, one of the achievements you can obtain in here is going to be stealing the sacred idol. Now, I do suggest saving the sacred idol for the last thing you do in the Emerald Grove, as it will cause quite a lot of characters to be hostile with you, and it can potentially lock you out of other quests. Now, looping back around to the shack and heading through one of the wooden doors, we can find Arca aiming her crossbow at one of the goblins. Now, this goblin in particular is going to be Saza. Now, Saza, we will be needing to save her and lead her out of the Emerald Grove to safety. Now, this is part of another achievement, which we can quite easily obtain by jumping across the backside and heading through this hidden stone door. However, before we go through the stone door, what we're going to do is wrap around and keep going through these pathways. There's going to be explosive mushrooms, do be careful stepping through here. However, on the ground, there's going to be a pouch with a few items inside of it. Now, one of these items that I did obtain inside of this pouch is going to be the Elixir of the Colossus. Now, you may or may not obtain this potion. However, at some point in time during your playthrough, you're going to need one of these. Now, this Elixir of Colossus is a special potion which lasts until long rest, in which it increases your size and your weapon damage. Continuing through, we will find a hole in the shack and go ahead and jump down into that. And we'll find an injured tiefling laying on the ground, and she will ask us if we were able to help her if you do get successful persuasion checks and whatnot. Now, earlier we did obtain an amulet off of the beach side. Now, one of these spells on that amulet, I believe, is going to be First Aid. Use that spell off of the amulet and we'll be able to cure her. Now, normal healing spells and cure wounds and whatnot will not work to fix this disease, so you have to use the amulet or a spell known as Lesser Restoration. Once you do that, there is another part of the quest with the rat we talked earlier. Now, the rat is pointing towards something that is hidden within one of the chests. Now, we are able to get inside of the chest, and also in the chest it will open up another compartment leading to the alchemist's cabinet. We can loot both the chest and the cabinet, and that'll basically complete both the tiefling quest and the rat quest both at the same time. Now back over to Sasa and going through the stone door. While we are in the underground passage, you will notice that there's going to be a few runes. Now there's 3 runes in particular, one being the rune of the bear. Now you're going to make sure that you disable or deactivate these runes as fast as possible. Reason being, they do shoot out fireballs which deal quite a lot of damage. If you are on honor mode, one safety tip I can give to you to stay alive during this stage of the game and help Sasa is to leave whoever is following Sasa behind for now, while the rest of your team enters through and goes on through, deactivates all the runes and kills all the goblins inside. If Sasa does happen to catch a stray firebolt from one of these statues, she is quite highly likely to die, which will end one of your achievements for saving Sasa. However, if your team does happen to fully wipe while they are inside, you do have that one extra character outside, in which you can tell Sasa to wait for you outside in one of these safe locations, which you're standing at right now. Return back to your camp, and you can go talk with the Withers, and you can have Withers revive your entire party for gold. Now, one extra tip regarding gold: if you do go and sneak behind the Withers, you can pickpocket the Withers and steal all the gold you just gave them to revive your party. Now, Withers, because he is programmed to not get mad at you, you can do this as many times as you want, and you can completely recover all the gold you just gave him. While you're in the underground passage, there's going to be a few oil barrels. Make sure you pick them up. We will be needing them to kill a few bosses, which are quite hard, especially if you're on honor mode. It'll help us deal quite a lot of damage to them. There's also going to be a trap chest. Make sure you disable all the traps and pick up all the oil barrels before you even attempt to open the chest, as it can explode and set off all those that are next to it. But once we exit the underground passage, we will end up completing that quest for Sasa, which will go off on her own. We will have to meet her at the goblin camp later on. Once we exit that passage, we can come up through these rocky hills. We'll climb up the rocky hills, and once we reach the ladder, leave your entire party behind. You're going to take one of your characters to jump to the top, and this should spawn in Raphael. Now, when Raphael spawns, you're going to want to switch to one of your secondary characters. You're going to sneakily hit Raphael while he is unaware. This will cause him to despawn, and it will deactivate the dialogue sequence, which will make him be caused to show up in your camp later on when you head through the mountain passage. Now, this is another step into getting the Helldusk armor earlier. While we're up here, we're going to grab all of the loot, and we can interact with the rocky crevice. Now, in the rocky crevice, there is a pouch we can obtain, as well as a few spiders. I do recommend going and killing all of them for some extra EXP. Now, heading back down that rocky high place that Raphael was at, you can go ahead and take a full rest if you do need to at this point in time. Now, if you have a Starian in your party, one of the achievements here is going to be having a Starian and let him bite you while you're in camp one of the nights, as well as we have the Dark Urge events with Alfira and his butler, which can activate as random points in times as you discover them. Oftentimes, you will find a Starian's event right here because there is going to be the incident with the boar and the whole thing of him being a vampire. However, there is the whole event with Edwin. Now on Edwin, you will be able to successfully get checks on him. Do make sure you pick this up. This shaft of a broken spear, we will be needing it later on when we head through another area. However, with this party, you are able to convince them to actually fight the owlbearers with you. However, I just so happened to try this out this time, and I found out that the easiest way to go about this is going to be actually having them go after the owlbear with you. And while they are sitting at the entrance, it is best to kill them off then and there and be done with them. If you do kill off the owlbears, they can actually happen to turn on you after that. You'll have to kill them anyways, which after dealing with the owlbears, sometimes you are low HP, they can actually kill you in that fight. Now, heading on through and dealing with the owlbear itself, the easiest way I've found to deal with this owlbear, if you're not worried too much about EXP, he does have a legendary action called Call Consort. Now, this summons a second owlbear, which is just as strong, if not stronger, than this first one. So on the first turn, you're going to actually want to set down oil barrels with a fireball or a fire arrow or an alchemist fire, whatever you happen to use. You can actually blow up the owlbear and kill it in its first turn. Now, this is the easiest way to deal with the owlbear, and do leave the owlbear cub alive, as it is part of a few other achievements we'll be needing as well. The owlbear will be carrying the head of a broken spear. Make sure you pick this up. This is going to be the second component we need, along with that other shaft of the spear. If you head up the cragged rock and jump to the adjacent side, there's going to be a hidden mound we can dig up for some loot, as well as on the ground floor there's going to be an owlbear egg, as well as a headless skeleton. Now this headless skeleton has the Oak Father's Embrace. Now this is mostly one of the trashier items and most often used to give to Gale and let him consume as extra magic power. Now while you're down in the owlbear nest area, there's going to be a saloon statue. Now one way to open the gilded chest is jumping behind the statue. There's going to be some scriptures you can pick up. Pick up these scriptures and you can go on and bring them over to the gilded chest. Open up the notes while you're standing in front of the chest, and now you'll be able to open that chest up as well. There's also been builds where you can actually pick up the chest and have full radiant blockage to your character and just walk around with it to deal AoE damage. Xing out of the owlbear cave and heading up to the right side though, we will find Scratch. You're able to interact with him and have them follow your scent back to camp. In the same area, you're actually able to jump across this water or pond, river, whatever you want to call it. And you're actually able to skip quite a bit of the Goblin Fortress area and jump along to Karlach right away. I'm not going to get out into this in this video. We'll get into that into probably the next, or if not the one after that, because it does include a few paladins who are tracking at Karlach, as well as part of Will's questline. Heading to the leftmost side of the map in the forest, we're able to find another dirt mound with a wooden chest. We can go ahead and dig that up. Continue down the dirt road and you'll take a right, and you'll find 3 stones which are stacked up in a triangular situation. There's going to be a dirt mound in front of those you can pick up as well. Now getting into the sunlit wetlands, we'll have our second encounter with Auntie Ethel. You can interact with these 3 characters. However, you take a left and wade through the water towards the backside of the waterfall. There's going to be a teddy bear. Now this teddy bear is related to Karlach if you do pick it up. There's a hidden mechanism with Karlach where she'll actually bring it and have it in her camp. In the sunlit wetlands, there's also going to be a campfire with a few items you can obtain for yourself, as well as another dirt mound we can dig up right next to it. Now, as we walk through the wetlands, you will eventually get a check or a nature or an investigation in which you can find some sheep, or what would be red cap goblins, which are standing around the place. Now, they're pretty much harmless. They do believe that you cannot see them. We're going to ignore them for now. We will be back here in a future video to cover something that is a couple levels higher content than we are right now. I believe we are level 3. I recommend being level 5 for fighting Auntie Ethel. So for now, we'll be taking the left pathways to the Druid Sanctuary. Now, while we're at the Druid Sanctuary, we're going to find ancient mud methods. Now, there's going to be a lighter ones, and they will summon darker colored ones. We want to kill all the lighter ones as fast as we can to stop the enemies from spawning more and more. Do be careful, as if you are standing next to them, they do explode. Now, one great tip I can give you is if you have your entire party go and jump on top of this pillar, you can set down a candle and set it on fire, in which you can have it light and dip all of your crossbows for some extra fire damage. Now, by being up here, you'll basically be out of the attack range of the wood woads, so they'll only be able to use Entangle, which you'll be able to instantly dispel with your fire arrows, which means once you kill the mud methods, you're basically free to shoot them as many times as you want. Now, once you kill all of those, there is a chest containing the sparkle hands, which is great for a monk build. And in the base of the tree, if you do discover it, there's going to be a wooden crevice. Now, this is going to be our last and final piece of the puzzle for the letter to Kagha. This will finish our investigation on her. Once you obtain this, you are free to return back to the Emerald Grove. However, before we do that, if we do go and walk on top of the next pillar on this area, there is going to be another dirt mound in which we can pick up and find some more loot. Now, just while I'm in the area, I'm going to go ahead and walk further through the sunlit wetlands. If you head to about X3 and Y218, you can find another dirt mound in which you can pick up. And just continuing on that pathway, you will eventually find another waypoint. Now, once you find this waypoint, I'm going to return back to the Emerald Grove. And we'll go finish up that dialogue with Kagha. Now, while we are speaking with Kagha and her whole thing with the Shadow Druids, it is quite important if you're on honor mode and you're playing by yourself to get successful persuasion checks to have her actually be on your side. If you are playing a wood half-elf, you can actually recite a few things to Kagha about the Grove's legacy, in which will successfully persuade her and actually becoming on your side for this fight. And this is quite an important thing considering that she is level 5 with about 80 HP. She can quite easily wipe out your party with Moonbeam. You can kill off all those shadow druids, and you can successfully complete the whole quest line with Kagha, and wrap that up there. Heading back outside, we'll walk over and talk to Volo for a moment. We will be seeing Volo again further along our playthrough towards the Goblin Camp area. But for now, we will return back into the forest up until the first section of the Goblin Camp that I would like to say, or leading up to the Goblin Camp, kind of the Broken Bridge area, in which we will continue off next time. Now, as always, this has been Azraildaim, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Signing off.